and welcome. My name is Raya Cvetkova,
And I'm Ali Honoramu.
and we are from the Future Now Association.
Together, we'll be presenting this podcast, a part of the project Storytelling for Youth Work, funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union.
This is one part of a multi-part podcast in which we will talk to longtime storytellers, dungeon masters, and overall RPG players.
The two of us are also role-playing game fans, and are lucky enough to have experienced a variety of them.
In these games, we've found inspiration, means of growth and development, and of course, a lot of fun.
We will discuss how storytelling can have a positive effect on your personal growth, and how to turn it into a fun activity for your friends or family, or a way to find and build new relationships and friendships.
Stick through to see what made these individuals hooked on storytelling,
Take their time-earned advice.
and learn how you can develop your own story or be part of one. Enjoy!
Enjoy.
Hello, everyone. Today with us is Stella, who also goes by Joy. She's been personally for me a dungeon master in a Dungeons and Dragons game. She also has experience as a player and with all kinds of other games. So she has long time experience in the RPG world, and she's going to share with us today some of her points of view. Hi, Stella. Hi, Joy.
Hey guys, I'm
Hi,
ready
Stella.
to share some wisdom here, or I'll try.
Can you start with telling us a little bit about yourself?
Um, well, I have been, I'm a wild book reader and fantasy fan, uh, ever since I was a little girl, and this basically sparked my inspiration and imagination. Um, Professionally, like, I'm sorry.
It's
Should I
okay.
give you information about me professionally and where I'm going, or as a dungeon master?
Whatever you choose. For a question that sucks always, because who likes being
Yeah.
asked, tell me something about yourself, you're handling it beautifully.
Of course. Well, right now I'm working as a tech support, but find an outlet in role playing games. And basically, I think that's about it. I'm not sure what else I
Yeah.
can mention about myself. I'm
We'll find out
20.
more things about you
Hmm?
while we're talking. We'll
That's
find out more things. Yeah. Don't worry, this is
definitely.
a stressful situation. But you were starting to say you were 20.
I'm 28, I think.
Okay. Depending on the calendar, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I don't know what else to mention about myself.
When did you get
I
into
think
RPGs, maybe?
yeah.
Into RPG specifically,
Yeah.
um, it was a weird phase when I was just discovering the internet because in my childhood, I wasn't surrounded by any kind of role-playing games or games overall. So it was when I discovered the internet. And the first form of RPG that I actually encountered was these forums where you actually role-played with other people and stories that you made. And it's basically what sparked the joy of creating your own story, um, creating it in collaboration with someone else and building something together. This is what started it, and then it has been basically a snowball effect.
Hmm.
That's amazing. What was that first farm like? What was the story?
It was a fan-based one, on an already existing a franchise, and basically it played on your desire to be a special one, be a part of the story, uh, in a way. But then it got like reborn into something more. You just didn't want to be uh, part of the story. Um, essentially, I grew is one of those people that actually started narrating for the others, like, because there's always like the members. Most of them are just players, but occasionally there is this like storyteller that pushes the story in some way.
Mm-hmm. So you
What
took
was
up
the
that role.
question?
What was the
I
game like
did,
before?
essentially. I did. I found the joy in it, if you will.
The joy in it.
Yeah.
So
So the
since
first one, sorry.
so, no, I was just curious because you said that was the first one, and then it had a snowball effect. What other games came after?
Well, I had a following few others like that. And then I came to the D&D world. I actually haven't tried many other role-playing games out of it. Either they have been entirely free, entirely free storytelling with very few rules, like several card games, like Glue or Gloom, or Once Upon a Time. They also relied on heavy storytelling, but they were quick party games. For long-term role-playing, I've tried only D&D with, as a playing system.
Mm-hmm.
Do you focus on a specific edition, or is it something you made?
I At some point I tried making something myself, but
Mm-hmm.
it didn't allow me to focus on the story. I had to also focus on the rules, and it was pointless. Of course, there is a joy in that for some people. For me, it was too distracting, and I prefer to focus on the story. I prefer to focus on the characters. So, I was introduced to the fifth edition of Dungeons and Dragons. That is very friendly for new players. They're quick and easy to get into, and then focus on what you actually care about, and it's having fun.
Great, that sounds amazing. So the first RPG you played was a text-based on a forum, as you said, right?
Yeah, they were very fun, but also chaotic,
Yeah.
and with random people also. So it had its ups and downs, but it was a good start.
Talk about the ups and downs and how RPGs affect us. And as you said, it was a way out of your daily life. I want to ask, how do you think RPGs have impacted your life? And either in socializing or in matters of creativity?
It They definitely changed a lot about my personality, because when I started, it was, I was more introverted than I am now. I'm still, but then it was a little bit more. And in a way, it did help me develop my social skills. It did help me develop my confidence, especially when you start leading the game yourself. Because this is when you get in charge, and getting in charge does absolutely boost your confidence, your skill to talk, your skill to um, talk in front of other people and lead them into a situation you're creating. It also helped me in a way that it developed my creativity, my ability to improvise. And I think that's the most important thing. And not just about descriptions or situations, but about problems that the players may create that I have not been prepared for. And in that case, you just have to on the spot adapt. And this is definitely the most valuable skill. Of course, the social part is also very important, and it helped me it helped shape me as a person as I am today. But this flexibility that a person develops as a game master is it's so helpful, and it can be applied in so many cases and situations. And it's also amazing how you can be surprised by yourself, because I've had those moments where I lead the game and I somehow managed to do it in a convincing enough way that while the others are discussing or making theories or something of the sort, I'm just hiding behind the DM screen and I'm like, wow, did I actually just come up with that? Wow.
From a player perspective in your game, you're also extremely organized. Is that something that you caught on with playing the game, or was it something
Oh
from
my
before?
god. Yes, definitely. I actually didn't realize that, but now that you pointed, it definitely helped me understand how to prioritize my time so that I can combine this hobby with other parts of my life, work, school, and so on. Um, that is something that definitely helped me value my time more. And during the process itself, by structuring the game, preparing for the game, preparing materials that may be needed or not be needed, it definitely helps you boost that skill of um, being able to manage your time and resources. So this is definitely also a valuable skill that can can absolutely be helpful in any kind of daily life.
Hmm. Oh, I've seen the binders, the all the notes, the drawings. It's really amazing.
Thank you. I try not to like it can be like a vicious cycle really because in some cases you can over prepare so much that it distracts you from the main event, so to say, and you get caught up on trying to figure out things um, or stuff that the players may not even get to, not just in this session, but in the future, like several rounds or the future months. Um, a person has to, at some point, realize for themselves how much is necessary for their own preparation, what they're comfortable with. What I personally prefer is to make enough material that would help me improvise. So I like to prepare my stuff, do my homework for the game, for the, let's say, the next few sessions, but I try to avoid the moment where I start preparing unnecessary stuff so that it gets in the way. It's also something that you can easily get caught up into. Just thinking of stuff that are not important at the time. So you also prioritize your tasks really. What's important, what's less important. It's a good skill.
Yeah,
I hope.
for sure. It is a
Definitely
good skill.
sounds like it.
So we mentioned a
Well,
lot
for
of
me.
sorry. We mentioned a lot of skills. You mentioned actually a lot of skills that you've gained, like organizational, social skills, skills in leading people, improvising. Did we miss something?
Time management.
Hmm.
I I mean, I can't really think of anything else unless like it's possible that someone throws something into me and I'm like, "Oh my God, yes, also this." But at the time being, I think that these are the most important skills that I have developed for myself because previously I had issues with organizing my time. I wasn't the best student. I'm not the best like employee. Always have something to work on. um, I was extremely like awkward and introverted person, but this helped me develop in a way as so much that I can actually come to a podcast and uh, share my opinions or experience. So this is a huge step from my, let's say, 14-year-old. So these are the most important skills that I have developed in myself, and I think that have the most uh, weight in my own life, of course.
It
Mm.
sounds like a blend of hard and soft skills that you've developed. All
Yeah,
of them very important. Very a lot of interpersonal skills from what you mentioned.
that's
Yeah.
definitely a good way to put it. Yes.
And not only that, you're not here just sharing, but you are here so potentially inspiring other people to start this, either by leading or joining D&D.
I hope
So
so. I hope that there is at least one person that will say, hey, you know what? I've always wanted to try this. Let's get my closest friends that are open to the idea and get on a table together and have some fun.
yeah, well, even if one person does change their mind, that is a huge change you can inspire.
Definitely.
Now, talking about skills, have you gained more skills, or can you differentiate what skills you gained by playing or by leading role-playing games? Because you were
Um,
both a player and dungeon master.
yes, I have. It is definitely a different experience. As a dungeon master, you have to kind of step in the leading role and do this and that and this and that, prepare and so on. As a player, you come to a table with an already made story, um, and challenges that they will throw at you. In
Mm-hmm.
this case, as a player, it's the most important thing is the teamwork. Oh, once again, it's a social skill, but in a different way. You have to learn to cooperate with people, first for problem solving, and
Mm-hmm.
then to it just pure cooperation in role playing sense, because there can be one player at the table that is um, like overly active and may take the spotlight and steal it from the others. It's good to
Mm.
find the balance, and of course, each person finds it for themselves and for their own chemistry and dynamic with the group. But being able to find your place in that way as a player, and and try to complement each other, is definitely something important that is good to develop as a team, because the party essentially they are a team, in a similar way as you can be a team in your office and uh, try to solve a problem together.
I like the way you linked playing in a party in D&D, how it's very closely associated to your daily life, which is working in an office, as you said.
For
There's a
example, yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good example. All right, Raya, should I continue?
If you want, I was thinking about what you said earlier about inspiring new people to join. So, when you are inspiring the young storytellers, what would you give them as advice for someone just
Before
sorry?
no, I'm sorry. I couldn't. I can get a good idea of the pose there, and I thought that the question is over. Yeah, finish, please.
No, I was just asking, like, if someone is inspired, like we said, let's start tomorrow. I'm taking my friends. How do they start? What should they look out for? That sort of thing.
Um, well, if you're starting as a dungeon master, if you're deciding to try it out, it may be overwhelming because there's a lot of rules. You don't have to follow any of them, or at least even half of them. You're free to improvise, you're free to follow your own like flow. The most important thing is to be forgiving to yourself and to the other players. Everybody makes mistakes. It's about self-discovery at the end of the day for you as a dungeon master, and for the same process that the people at the other side of the table were going through. Um, it's good to have a general concept of what you're going to be doing. It's good to have a basic concept of what you expect from the game. Like, for example, some people prefer more action-packed games. For others, this may be boring and repetitive. They may prefer mystery or anything. Lots of options here. So it's good for if you have a group that you want to try out something with. It's good to, and if they're friends, and you already know each other, it will be good to have some sort of understanding and what you're going to be doing. If you're getting a random group of people, which is also possible, let's say there's school clubs, or you grabbed a bunch of people from the internet to play online, it's good to set these expectations in advance, just so that there's no one disappointed, there's no one with wrong expectations. And if you're new, let the others know. Uh, for example, in case there is a more experienced player at the table, or if you have friends that may expect you to lead them, um, it's good to know that each and every one of you may make mistakes, and it's good to be forgiving.
Yeah. I can praise you in that way that when we were starting out the game, you did kind of ask us, you polled us, what would we prefer? Where would we want the story to head? And it was very enjoyable as a player to also have a say in how it goes.
I'm definitely glad to hear that it had that impact, because for me at this point it comes as kind of like common sense, but it it is not necessarily a given. And I've heard a lot of horror stories where people had wrong expectations, feelings get hurt, and so on. So it's good to have your boundaries set. And it's not even for like a general idea what you expect from the game. It maybe even for some sensitive stuff if you're uncomfortable with something. For example, if you don't like too much violence in your games or anything that one person in particular may have against, it's good to state it in advance, because no one, even if it's friends, it's good to have it in mind, because we can't assume. We can't assume, we can't guess or read thoughts. So lay it all out on the table, get an arrangement and understanding in advance, and as soon as you're I'm sorry, as far as you're patient, it should go fine.
Yeah. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's really
Oh,
beautiful. Yeah.
oh, you guys are beautiful.
um, so you played as RPGs. You played mostly D&D. Is there some other storytelling story you'd like to possibly start? I mean, I know there are a lot of other variations. Is there something else that you would like to experiment with, or has
Oh,
D&D covered you? Um,
no, definitely it has not. There's a lot of fun formats there. For example, something that I've always wanted to try. They're once again more in the category of fun party role-playing games that are short and chaotic, but these are the one-page RPGs that are basically a simple set of rules, not too much dice, not too much rules, just pure improvisation between the players at the table, and the story can go
mhm.
wild. There may be like a dungeon master, but it's it's very loose, and it's more like guiding the general direction of the story, while the players just take it and rip it apart in the most positive way, of course. There's also a lot of other things that I'd like to try, set in different settings, or with
Mhm.
different like gaming systems. D&D is definitely not the end. And as long as there is anyone to try them with, I'm Owen.
Okay, that sounds nice, especially the one-page the RPGs. I could see you definitely creating something like this and testing it out. It would be pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I think that they're a great introduction to role playing, because it's not overwhelming. You need, as a dungeon master, a very basic idea of a story. So it's not like you will need to spend hours of preparation. And it will be a good way to define how okay you are with the idea of role playing, because this can be challenging. Like, I've had players that decided that role playing is not for them, and it's difficult for them to put themselves in the shoes of characters. So maybe something like this is also a good introduction because it's quick, fast paced, fun. If it's not your cup of tea, it's not it's not too engaging, and you can leave at any point.
Okay. Just a follow-up question about this. How do you place yourself in the character? You've also, either by playing the NPCs or by creating your own characters, how do you feel like you're in the shoes of this character? How do you feel as the character? Is there a process you're going through?
For me, in particular, I definitely need the process. Because I generally try to, if I'm playing a long-term character, I usually try to base these characters close to my understandings and my ideas.
Mhm.
Just because this is what I'm most comfortable with. If it's something short term, I can go wild and may experiment. Um, but for something long term that would require actual thought of what would this person do, how would they act in this situation, I'm most comfortable with something that's close to myself. um, for me, I've noticed that for me as a player it's more difficult. For me it's
Mm.
easier to be a dungeon master.
Okay.
Hmm. That's interesting. It's also really cool. And us, the players on the receiving end, are very happy that you're happy being the dungeon master, so we can enjoy the game.
Well,
Yeah.
I enjoy being the dungeon master because this is what I'm most comfortable with, but I'm also fine with going out of my comfort zone. So if any of you guys decides to, DM a game, I would be more than happy to be a player and try something new.
I thought for a second you were talking to the audience overall. I was like, this is very adventurous of you.
Well, yeah, well, maybe. Why not?
Yeah, you never know.
Speaking of the audience, I could pick out some advice that you could have been giving, like maybe start from the one pager RPGs to try it out, or how to build your idea of it, or to be adventurous and try out things. Is there something you would like to give as advice, like a final note for our listeners?
As a dungeon master?
As a Stella, as Joy.
As a
This is Stella.
Stella. Okay, well, it's important to work with the people on the table, even if you're a dungeon master or a player. It's this is the key to having fun. No one wants to have someone that's upset or someone that's uncomfortable or someone that is like feeling bad that they're not getting their place in the spotlight. Work with people, have fun, and in the end of the day, that's the most important thing. Rules are not a law. You can change them, you can ignore them, you can follow them whenever necessary, extremely strictly, depending on the game that you want to have. And it's good to know, as I mentioned earlier, to know what you want to expect from a game.
Hmm. That's the golden rule I've seen in some books written. The golden rule of rules. Do what you want in the end, as long as it's fun.
Basically, yes, and listen to your
Yeah.
dungeon master also.
Yeah.
A note from the
Definitely.
dungeon master: listen to
Yeah.
the dungeon master.
Well,
Oh,
it has master in the name, so.
yeah, it should be obvious. No, but in some cases, like for example, if there's a conflict at the table um or a potentially problematic game, it's the dungeon master that should have your back and should step in and should intervene or act accordingly so that there is justice at the table, if you will. Um, so in some cases, you should rely on their judgment And if you think that their judgment is off, mention it to them, discuss it with them.
That's really good advice.
Great.
Thank you, Joy. Stella.
I
Thank you
thank
so
you
much.
guys.
And
All right, Raya, do you have any other questions to ask? I think we got our final remarks as well.
yeah, I think so too. And we said thank
Well,
you.
thank you, Joy.
I thank you for the opportunity, and I hope that this will be useful and inspiring.
I'm sure someone will be listening to you and already starts feeling the tingle of the want to try.